Hello! Such a long time. Man, oh man, we've been getting a lot of snow. So I've been busy scooping, and my back feels amazing. Doesn't hurt at all. Not sore whatsoever. Just as healthy as a horse. Moving on to Genesis 26 today. We'll do the King James Version. It was crazy reading this. This is Isaac and Abimelech. Now, you might remember Abimelech because we just read about him back with Abraham. He's a king of the Philistines. Now, Abimelech makes a covenant with Abraham. Before that, Abraham goes there and lies about who Sarah is so that Abimelech doesn't kill him and bone her. Says that it's his sister. I had to look back to make sure I wasn't going crazy because it's the same exact story only with Isaac now. It's the same exact story. It's so crazy. Also, it's interesting how not only is Abimelech still around the king, but so too is the same, we'll get to the name of the guy, his chief security officer, his chief officer, his general, whatever, whatever, we'll get to it. Pilchol, I can't remember what it is. But it's the same one. It was with Abraham. Now, a lot of historians, because they just cannot make sense of, and they don't want to admit to the ages in the Bible and in a lot of old scripture, so they'll just say that, it's a title name. It's not the person's actual name. It's like Pharaoh or something like that. But that's not what this is. The Bible makes quite clear because Genesis specifically and other ones are written like a literal history book. It is a history book meant to have other writings you would look onto to find out more details. Like here's a little write-up about the Civil War. Here's a bunch of books on the Civil War with more detail. But this is just a summary. That's what a lot of this Genesis stuff is. And they would tell you, which they do with many other cultures, when it's a new king, when it's a different person. Abimelech is the person's name, and he's still around. Okay, so there are still those living Abraham lived to be like 175. But there's others that have a lot more of this, I don't know, something's going on with the Canaan bloodline. They're cursed. I don't know if it's Nephilim, Rephaim, whatever that stuff is, but something's going on there. And he's a king of the Canaanites. And he's around. They're living old still. Anyway, the title of this one is Isaac and Abimelech. Abimelech, again, you'll probably find people out there who say this, usually secular, some Christian, some Bible-believing, but those are the ones that will be pushed on you, saying that Abimelech is like a title name. It's not the actual king. That is not the case. I guarantee you. And there are plenty. This isn't like my philosophy. There's plenty of research out there. Plenty of theologians, historians, archaeologists, anthropologists who will tell you the same thing I'm telling you, that this is, at least the way this is written, it's the same guy. And so you don't have to believe the Bible. If you don't want to believe the Bible, that's fine. But the way the Bible's written is that this is the same guy. It's not two different kings that just have the title, like Pharaoh. Abimelech is not a title. It's his name. King James Version, Genesis 26, verse 1. And there was a famine in the land, beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham, and Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. So it even tells you right there was a famine in the land, beside the first one with Abraham, because it's such a repeat chapter, such a repeat story, only with Isaac now. But other players are all still the same. A famine. So famine first led him to to Abraham to Egypt. And then another famine led Abraham to Abimelech. So this Canaanite king is playing a lot of roles, and this is why Abraham isn't wiped out in the beginning when the Jews come back under Moses, and the Canaanites and the Philistines, and they want to kill these people. That's a lot of Esau's lineage getting in there because Jacob steals the blessing, and this should be our land. And that's a lot of generations of them thinking that. These guys are Canaan's line, and they're practicing some shady stuff as far as what they believe is proper culture and religion. But they don't just hate Abraham. Like, Abraham saved Sodom and Gomorrah before God destroyed them. Like, he brought back all the peoples who were taken away by the king, defeated the king that sacked Sodom and Gomorrah. He was well established and known as like a righteous man, so like he's not going to screw you over. So the Canaanites, for the most part, were like, well, yeah, just leave him alone then. Like, he's not going to screw us over, so he's all good. And Cain and Abimelech made a covenant, a promise to Abraham that they would basically have a peace treaty. Now the same thing's happening again. One thing I got to say though, I'm getting so off topic. I'm already about 6 minutes in, and I've hardly gotten through this, but what you'd think with all these famines happening regularly, they would stop believing that like sacrificing their children to these gods will bring the crops in, or having a bunch of random sex with strangers, or not washing yourself off in between, and anal sex and all this stuff. That's how you worship the gods in the Canaanite culture, is by doing these things. So you have to have sex with men, women, children, kill firstborns and slaves and sacrifice them and rub their blood all over you in order to bring in the harvest. Like, that's how we get the good crop, is by doing these things. You'd think after a bunch of famines, they'd be like, this shit isn't working very well. It's not, maybe we should reconsider our idea of what the gods want. But they don't. So let's just get into it. So Isaac goes to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn, stay in this land, and I will be with thee, and will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. I'll keep going. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries, and in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed. Because that Abraham obeyed my voice, and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. Abraham was he was a good guy. I mean, he was flawed. He wasn't Christ. But in every way, he upheld God's demands and charges and standards. Like, he could question God. He wasn't sure. He had some things in his heart that he was, like, leery about, and he wasn't Christ-like in absolute power and faith in holiness. But Abraham was the epitome of a good man, as far as I don't know, I don't understand this stuff, I don't know for sure, but I know that you're right, God, and I'll follow what you tell me to do. I don't understand it, I don't always know what you're talking about, and sometimes I even disagree, Sodom and Gomorrah, but your righteousness is true because you are God, and I see no unjustness, or I see no hate in you, and I see nothing but righteousness from you, so I have to trust you then. And because of this, his line's blessed. Now Isaac and Jacob and after them are still good guys, Joseph, but none of them are Abraham. Abraham does this for his whole line. And here God's promising Isaac that, I'm going to keep the vow. And he's kind of like calling Isaac out too. Like, you have to, I'm keeping it because your father was so great. It's kind of like, now you be great sort of thing. Verse 6, And Isaac dwelt in Gerar, and the men of the place asked him of his wife, and he said, She is my sister. For he feared to say, She is my wife, lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair, sexy, to look upon. I wonder where he got the idea to say it's his sister. Where did that come from? It told you it's a repeat going on here. I hate to do it, but I don't have any viewers, so maybe this is the first time you're watching, and you haven't seen my older ones with Abraham and Sarah, this is the exact same thing that Abraham does in Egypt and with King Abimelech when he goes to the Philistine cities. It's the same story over again, only with Isaac. Sexy wife knows that if they know that it's his wife, like this is their, because they're still in their minds, these cultures, they have virtues. They're just not our virtues. So it's not virtuous to have sex with another man's wife. So kill that man and then I can have sex with him. And that is virtuous. That's the correct thing to do. It's not that you shouldn't want to have sex with that man's wife. It's that, oh, she has a wife, kill him. If I'm powerful enough to kill that person's wife, then I can take his wife. And that's good, according to our gods. So Isaac's well aware of this and is like, dang, you know, these people are rapey people. They are not the same virtue. They're virtuous in their own way, but they're not our virtues. Understand that, okay? It's funny, too, because you can see how close they still are to, you know, Shem and Japheth and Noah, because even though they've, like, fallen in the line of Canaan, they still kind of hold on to a few of the, like, civilized society things. Not a lot, but some of them. And how much that's, like, wiped out by the time the Hebrews come out of Egypt with Moses. So it's completely upside down world at that point. Like, it's crazier than it is now, because these sons of Canaan are the cursed line, but there's still plenty of sons of Japheth and his boys and Shem. So, and not all of Ham's line is cursed either. It's just Canaan that ends up being cursed. So they are probably still somewhat believing in what their fathers told them, a lot around them. And I just can't believe it's the same story. I can't believe they didn't learn that killing people in order to have sex with their wives doesn't cause a bountiful harvest, because we keep having famines. Maybe we should do something different. Yeah, we should probably just, like, rape everyone. Hey, good idea, Phil. And Phil became the father of the Philistines. No, that's not true. Okay, back on topic. Verse 8. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out a window and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting Rebekah his wife. For those of you who may not be aware, sporting is a sexual act. Verse 9, and Abimelech called Isaac and said, Behold, of a surety she is thy wife. And how saidst thou, she is my sister? Just like your dad. And Isaac said unto him, Because I said, lest I die for her. And Abimelech said, What is thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lain with thy wife, and thou shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us. You see, like I said earlier, that's where the guiltiness comes in. It's that we would have had sex with her while she had a husband. But Abimelech doesn't deny that they would have killed him. Like, he's like, why'd you tell us she was your sister? Because you would have killed me if I said she was my wife in order to have sex with her. And he's like, well, how dare you do this? We could have had, one of us could have had sex with your sister not knowing it's your wife, and that would have been a grievous act. Not the act of having sex outside of marriage, not the act of, you know, banging this dude's sister behind his back or anything like that. No, it's the act of having sex with a married woman. So they still kind of have that virtue a little bit. But notice, no denial whatsoever that they would have killed Isaac. It was like that was implied. Abimelech's like, yeah, but we could have had sex with her while she was married. That's a sin in our eyes. They don't see the sin that killing Isaac in order to have sex with Rebekah is a sin. That's not their culture. That's what they're supposed to do. You kill the man before you take his wife. It's wrong to have sex with a living man's wife. So kill him first. He doesn't deny it whatsoever. At all. Just like with Abraham. Because but that's his whole mindset. He can't even comprehend that that's wrong. He's like, yeah, but we could have had sex with her and she's your wife, thinking she's your sister. That's all he's worried about. Not at all ashamed that he would have killed, or one of them would have killed Isaac in order to have sex with her. Verse 11, and Abimelech charged all his people, saying, he that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sowed in the land and received in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. See, again, this is why I say, like, Abraham and Isaac and these guys aren't, like, perfect of faith, but they're just examples of really good men. Because just like Abraham, and I had a whole video about this, it's not really putting much faith in God. Like, God was protecting Sarah when Abraham was in Egypt and in Abimelech's kingdom. And now God's protecting Rebekah while he's in this kingdom. It's shrewd of Abraham and Isaac to have said it's their sister because they are aware of the culture and they realize what the culture will do willy-nilly. They'll just kill them and not think twice about it. So it's very shrewd of him, and they don't want to get in trouble with God for not being faithful. But notice in both cases, the kings are mad because they might have had sex with her when it's his sister. Because her sister is, like, you still usually, you go and you talk to the brother, you try and work something out. It's not civilized to just bang her behind their back, but it's not that bad either to just bang some dude's sister. It's not like banging a married woman in their eyes. So here's what's going on. He's basically not fully, I don't know how to say this. He doesn't have the faith to just know God's going to protect her. But he does. He knows that God will protect him, but he still thinks he has to put forth some effort. And it is kind of a good message. You can't just be like, yeah, God will provide, I don't have to do anything. And that's what I'll get into. This chapter is a lot about the hard work that Abraham and Isaac put in. But at the same time, you should never lie. You shouldn't lie. God would have protected Rebekah either way. God made it so no one in Egypt could get a boner, so that no one would have sex with Sarah when they thought it was his wife. And this Abimelech remembers Abraham. They probably had more of a conversation. He finds out this is Abraham's son, and he's like, dang it, I remember your dad. Your God is super powerful. So basically he's like, no one touch this woman. Okay? Now Isaac could have done that from the get-go, and it would have avoided a lie. But he's not Christ. He's full man. There's no God necessary in Isaac or Abraham. So they still have that, like, shrewd, clever, spy, undercover. You got to know the dark side of society to be able to play their game sometimes. They have that mentality, which works. But at the same time, I just don't think that they needed to tell the lie. Other than it's just a good story. It makes for a better story as far as something you can learn from, Because if it's just straight, they walked in there and God, boom, made it so no one could have sex with their wife, and they were like, yeah, it wouldn't be as compelling because you would be like, that's not how that would happen, Oh, that was way off topic. I know. So he basically says no one can have sex with her. He remembers Abraham. He remembers what's going on with this family and their God, and he realizes who Isaac is. And Isaac he's like, ah, crap, we can't have sex with your wife. All right, so no, don't worry about it. I'll make a decree. Verse 13. So then Isaac, let's go back 12. Then Isaac sowed in the land and received in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And the man waxed great, and went forward, and grew until he became very great. For he had possession of flocks, and possession of herds, and great store of servants, and the Philistines envied him. Okay, so don't have sex with this guy's wife. Cool. He plants crops, brings in 100-fold, huge bounty. The guy who's not performing human sacrifices and having sex with all kinds of different people, strangers, and murdering, that guy's bounty comes in great. during a famine for everyone else. You'd think because their whole worship is based around, having good crops, having lots of children. So, like, you're not having good crops, something's wrong with your worship. This guy's having great crops, always does. How do they not put it together? But what happens? Are they like, whoa, what's this guy doing? Is he, oh, look how he's tilling the land ahead of time. Or look how he's watering. Oh, what's that? Oh, my goodness, he's putting poo from his sheep on there. What's that about? Let's talk to him, find out about this fertilization or whatever he's doing. Look how hard he's working. He's irrigation, canals. What's all this about? No, they don't try to find out, what's your, man, you have all these cattle and sheep and everything. What's your business strategy? How do you trade and barter? No, none of that is going on. They're not like trying to befriend Isaac and get to make themselves a better person, which is hilarious because just like Abraham, Isaac's still preaching the word. He's still like trying to get people to come into his way of thinking as far as a one true God and how to really worship him. But they're like, no. What do? They just become envious. That's the last word right there. And the Philistines envied him. What a bunch of douches. That's all they are. Like, what a bunch of douches. Instead of being like, hey, that's the guy that I need to be friends with. Like, hey, man, let's see what that guy's doing because he's doing it right. Let's figure this out. No, they're just like, hey, this guy, he's not even from here. Look how much money he has. Look how he's always working outside, and then he gets to have sex with his one wife who he like actually enjoys being with, and she's super hot. This guy sucks. Yeah, screw him. He doesn't deserve it. Yeah. Like, I sacrificed like 4 of my babies to the gods. Why am I not blessed? So they're super envious. Verse 15. For the wells... Oh yeah, here's a good one. For all the wells which his father's servants had digged in the days of Abraham, his father, the Philistines, had stopped them and filled them with earth. So, to like burn, what a dick move. Just to be like, screw you, man. You're doing all well for yourself. They went and destroyed all of the wells that Abraham had dug around the area. What a dick move to everyone. Like, the whole point of those wells, like, it gave Abraham influence and everything throughout society. But think about it. Like, he just dug wells so that travelers would have places to stop and get water in the desert. That's what these wells for. Like, sometimes you would have people man them and stuff for either protection, sometimes to charge money. But Abraham's men were more like just Mormons, just like, oh yeah, would you like some water? And would you like to hear the message of our Lord and Savior? You'd be like, oh yeah, I'll listen and I get some water, sure. And that's what these wells were about. And he dug them where God basically blessed him all over the place. And these pricks just went and filled them with earth and destroyed them because they were jealous that Isaac was so wealthy and powerful because he worked hard. That's what, think about it. These Jews were capitalists. That's what they were. Hard work, determination, putting your best foot forward, striving to serve the Lord through sacrifice and selfless behavior. And these countries are a bunch of socialists, or authoritarian, totalitarian, whatever you want to call it. I mean, they're like, what? He's a good barter and trader and farmer? He's innovative with his business strategies and his farming techniques? And now he's got way more power than us. I mean, it's earthly power, which he doesn't even freaking care about. That sack of crap. I deserve that. I deserve that because I spent all my day watching him get it and not me. And he's got a hotter wife than I do. This is bullcrap. Go plant a field, douchebag. Verse 16, and Abimelech said unto Isaac, go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. Like, he's like, get out of here. Like, you're getting too powerful. You're going to have more influence than me pretty soon. Because that's the whole thing. Kings rely on their servants. If your servants aren't following you, you don't have a kingdom. And why do they follow you? Because you provide for them. Well, you have a famine. Isaac, through his own grit and hard work and positive can-do attitude, has developed a freaking oasis that people can come to and eat. And as long as they're willing to work and help out and be good people to each other and have to listen to these missionaries, basically, they can eat and drink and have fun. So they're going to stop following Abimelech. They're going to follow Isaac. Like, hey, live under this totalitarian control where if you have a hot wife or daughter, he'll just take them or kill you and take them. And every few years you got to do some baby sacrificing and some, having sex with random strangers and, blood orgies and all kinds of crazy crap like that. Or you go to this place where it's like, no, you got to treat each other with kindness. No, we don't harm each other. We're all about justice and righteousness and looking out for your family and taking care of one another and working hard, in order to provide for yourself and your family and for those who, can't work as hard. Oh, yeah, we have fun. We still know how to party, make wine, all that stuff. We just, make sure that we put our, feet to the grindstone when we have to. And you guys got to pitch in as much as you can. Be good people. They're going to go follow you if that's you compared to the dude who's going to rape your daughters. So Abimelech's like, get the hell out of here. No one's let me rape their daughters and wives anymore. You got to go. So Isaac... Verse 17, and Isaac departed thence, and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. So basically, his father dug wells. His father dies. Okay. His father, Abraham, passes away. Isaac, there's a famine. He goes to this area. He's able to grow crops in the area. And everyone gets envious of him. So they go put a bunch of earth in and destroy these wells. So what does the hard-working Isaac, the God-fearing man who knows that he's still, you gotta put your head down and keep charging, work hard, and serve the Lord do? He goes and redigs the wells for his father Abraham and renames them the same names his father gave them. In his mind, they're still his father's wells. He's not going to let them destroy his father's stuff. Yeah, they already did what they did. Well, we can piss and moan about it, or we can just go do something about it. So let's go redig these wells. The people need these wells. These wells are relied on by the shepherds in the area, by the people who live in the area. Because he's a hard worker. That's that is such an important message of Christianity. If you don't understand the importance of hard work, of putting your best foot forward, then you don't understand the full message. All right, moving on, verse 20 and verse 19. And Isaac's servants digged in the valley and found there was a well of springing water, or living water, or flowing water, basically. Verse 20, and the herdsmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdsmen, saying, the water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, which means contention, because they strove with him. And they digged another well and strove for that also. And he called the name of it Sitnah, meaning hatred. And he removed from thence and digged another well, for that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth, meaning room. And he said, for now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. So these dickholes keep basically following Isaac around when he digs a well that has flowing water. You know, they can't say they dug the well, but they say the water's theirs, like it originates on their land, that sort of thing. Is most likely what happened. And he's just like he doesn't want to have open war with these people. He's not trying to go. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to provoke him. When I was in the Navy, and we'd go through the Straits of Hormuz, you know, with Iran on one side, they're little speedboats with their guns on them. They'd aim them at you, and they'd try and get you to, like, fire on them. They'd yell stuff at you, and they'd try and get us to fire at them. They wanted us to start an international, you know, catastrophe or some sort of disaster or incident, or whatever you want to call it. That's what these herdsmen are doing. I mean, they're basically trying to get Isaac to. They're trying to pick a fight with him, and he's just like, whatever. Look, he doesn't really. I mean, God would have let him win. And if we look back to the way Abraham ran his peoples, they had trained warrior men with him at all times. But Isaac is more than likely just like, this isn't worth it, whatever. So he does this, and then they do that with 2 wells. And then finally, they went to the 3rd one. They didn't argue with him over that one. Either he's far enough away, or they probably realized he was getting fed up. Because in reality, they know that Isaac and his people are powerful. That's the whole reason they sent them away. You know, so they don't want to keep pushing it too far. Like they just wanted to like have their fun, knowing that he wouldn't do anything for a while. But once they saw that he was getting serious about stuff, they're like, no, whatever. We did our thing. We made our point. We made our point. Anyway, so they end up settling where they dug the 3rd well because they said they have room there, and that's where they'll be fruitful and multiply. Verse 23, and he went up from thence to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared unto him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father, fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he builded an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there, and there Isaac's servants digged a well. So, God appears to Abraham, reaffirms the covenant, and I mean, that's pretty much it. Now, remember these wells, like I mentioned earlier. So remember, they dug one, overturned. Well, first off, let's go way back. Abraham digs all these wells. They fill them up. The Canaanites fill them up with dirt, and Isaac redigs them. Then he digs a new one. The herdsmen of the Philistines or the Canaanites or whatever start arguing with him about it. So he's like, whatever, take it. Does that with another one. They argue with him. Take it. 3rd one, good, all good. So that's where they like pitch their tent and everything. And this is a good place to live, sort of the saying. They end up probably not too far away. They dig another well, because that's God, Abraham, or Isaac, I mean, it was just like walking or something. And that night, Abraham appeared to him, or God appeared to Isaac, which is most likely meaning Christ appeared to Isaac here, and just reaffirmed the covenant. You know, your dad was a great man. But notice, he's, again, calling Isaac out. Like, because your father was such a great man, I will bless you and your seed. It's kind of like saying it would put the weight on your shoulders to also be a good man. You know, live up to your father's expectations, because you now have the blessing also. So they dug a well there. This one, all they've done so far is dug it. They haven't found water or anything yet. Moving on, verse 26. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzath, one of his friends, and here's the guy, Philcol, the chief captain of his army. So Abimelech and Philcol were the same ones that talked to Abraham. And Isaac said unto them, Wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? Isaac's basically like, what the F, man? Like, you just told me to get out of your town, and now you're coming to see me? You just kicked me out. You exiled me. What are you guys doing here? And he said, we saw certainly, this is Abimelech, we saw certainly that the Lord was with thee. And we said, let there be now an oath betwixt us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee, that thou wilt do us no hurt, as we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now the blessed of the Lord. So they know that they're well aware that Abraham and Isaac's God is the real God. They just don't want to follow it. If they give in to following that, they have to deny them their own earthly pleasures, and takes power away from them over their people. When you say that there's a God you have to serve of righteousness and justice, the power that you have to give up some of your earthly power to do so. And they're so powerful, they don't want to do that. That being said, they're aware that Abraham and Isaac's God is the God, and they don't want to have any trouble with him. This is the same treaty they made with Abraham, and they want to reaffirm it with Isaac, because they don't want there to be strife, because they fear their God. Righteously so. They don't fear him enough to live under his rule, but they fear him in the sense that they don't want to go to war with his blessed servant, because that's how they see the world. They see it in an earthly way. They don't see the heavenly blessings that come from worshiping God. But they do see the power that you would have if you went to war, as far as being God's servants. So they want to make a peace treaty, and they're like, look, all we did was tell you to get the hell out, but we did it nicely, right? Like, don't ever hurt us, because your God's super powerful. And, because we didn't hurt you, we were just like, leave town, quickly. But we didn't, kick you in the butt on the way out. So anyway, verse 30, and he made them this is Isaac doing this, and he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. So I like that part. So even though they are not really the same people, even though this is basically, Isaac lives on a missionary retreat, he still has a feast and eats and drinks, probably had a bunch of jokes all night and sang some songs, had a good time with these guys, to restore the treaty. It's so crazy, it's not even crazy. You can hang out, especially as guys, you can hang out with all kinds of different guys. You avoid topics of huge importance, with some of them, like religion or politics with guys like this, but you can still talk about all kinds of things, and that's what he's doing with these guys. He's just having a good time. You can do that for one night, easy, with any group of guys with another group of guys that needs to get along for one night, no problem. And why wouldn't you? So Isaac's like, all right, we'll seal it with a feast here. Let's have some fun. That's just cool to me. Verse 31, and they rose up betimes, what a weird word, betimes in the morning, and sware one to another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servant came and told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto him, we have found water. And he called it Sheba, meaning an oath. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day. Beersheba means the well of oaths. And that is, Beersheba is a famous place. Now here's the last two verses, and it's totally a different story. But remember, at this time, Isaac has two children, Jacob and Esau. They're twins. Esau's the older twin, but he's much more about earthly pleasures. Let's just put it that way. He's not necessarily evil, and definitely not necessarily even bad at this point in the story in any way, but he just doesn't really care much about godly things. He's more about earthly prestige, power, glory, food, lust, that sort of thing. So verse 34, and Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and second wife here, Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and to Rebekah. So remember, Isaac's brother Ishmael had a mother, Hagar, who was an Egyptian woman, who never totally fell in with Abraham's God or Abraham's culture or way of thinking about the world. So Ishmael was constantly torn between the two, which is why he never could inherit, because with Sarah and Abraham, they both raised him to understand the one true God, and he was never torn, and thus his lineage was more likely to carry on the message. And it's not that Ishmael didn't believe Abraham, it's just he still wanted, it's like his mother's pulling him to her way of thinking, and he believed in God, he worshiped God, but he didn't lose these things, and those things crept back into his later generations. So, of course, Isaac doesn't want to see this happen with his children. Well, now Esau, whom he loves, Esau's his favorite because Esau is a good hunter, and he always brings his dad good venison to eat, marries not one but two women, both, which is already not really what you're supposed to do, but two women outside of their culture, outside of their religion, outside of their way of understanding the world. And remember, we're so spoiled today when we talk about different religions, because almost all religions, kind of for the most part, are so similar. I mean, they're all like a variation of Judeo-Christianity, are the big ones. All of them. Sikhism, even Buddhism. They're not the true faith, but they're a variation. These are like totally inverted religions. Completely. One believes in one God who is righteous, just, and loving. The other believes in a pantheon of gods who like you to just honor them by sacrifices and orgies and all kinds of crazy ways of living. They're basically these other religions and their pantheon gods. Their way of worshiping is like if demons were trolling people and trying to get them to do crazy stuff that they know God won't like. That's what these other religions believe. It's not like, oh, be kind to widows, but we think that this guy is our savior, or that this guy is the one who founded our belief. It's, no, take slaves, murder, blood orgies. These are the ways of the gods. This is how you should live. So he takes two women of this culture, these type of cultures, to be his wife, and it's a huge grief of mind, or translated to bitterness of spirit, for both Rebekah and Isaac, because these women start influencing their son, that perhaps the one true God of Isaac and Abraham isn't the true God. Oh, these women say that their shamans and their wise men can do magic. I haven't seen this kind of magic, oh, this and that. So he starts falling under their way of thinking, because there's probably two hot women who are banging him left and right, and it's okay in their book to do that. It's totally okay. His parents say that's not okay. It's not okay for me to have awesome threesomes with these two hot women. But they say that that's what the gods want. There's only one God, but they say there's multiple gods. No, there's not. I don't know. Because I like the threesomes over here, so they might be right. Like, this is what's going on, basically. And this is why Esau doesn't end up inheriting. And we'll get into that, because the next one is Jacob's stolen blessing. And really, it was never going to be Esau's, because Esau becomes a servant of this world. He serves himself. He serves the pleasures of this world. And that cannot inherit the blessing. Just can't. You can't inherit the blessing, because the whole blessing is all about, what is the blessing? The blessing is understanding that it's not about this world. That's the freaking blessing. So how are you going to get the blessing if you don't understand that? Anyway, God bless. This went kind of long, and I need to make some food. Everyone have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or good night.